Call to order the special city council meeting. It's 6 o'clock Tuesday, June 12th. And I would like to acknowledge that the press and public were duly notified of this meeting in accordance with the Freedom of Information Act. Before us tonight, we have two first readings of ordinances. Ordinance 2012-3 and Ordinance 2012-4. We'll start with Ordinance 2012-3. We have Corey Tower. Corey, you want to tell us a little more about the easement, or just kind of, I mean, we're all familiar with it, and I guess if anyone has any questions for Corey, you can ask him questions.
I didn't really
appreciate you coming tonight,
sure.
and you don't have to say anything. If it's more or less if anyone here has any questions for Corey.
And just for a little context, this is somewhat time sensitive, so our goal is to have second reading. If the ordinance should pass first reading tonight, our goal would be to have second reading at the June council meeting so that they can go ahead and order their supplies. And the global goal here is to provide a backup system for power access to the island that would go underground. In terms of specifics, and this body heard a presentation on the logistics of that before, and Westmoreland is walking in right at this moment, so I'll get his name on the record so we can ask any additional questions about granting the easement, but here we're up for first reading by title only.
And I failed to say at the beginning of the meeting, I'm doing this meeting. The mayor is meeting with the mayor and city administrator meeting with the finance committee of Charleston County to get us some extra bucks for public safety. And Ryan Buchanan is out of town, so he's excused.
I don't have any additional new information,
Okay.
but certainly if you've got any questions.
We've gotten all the drawings. Yeah. Wesley gave us a great presentation at our last meeting. So I would entertain a motion to approve the first reading, and I think once.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Emily, I'll let you go ahead and read the title.
Yeah, absolutely. First reading by title only of Ordinance 2012-3, an ordinance approving the grant of a utility easement on a portion of the city's property to the South Carolina Electric and Gas Company.
Okay. Are there any questions? Any discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
The second item is the first reading of title only of Ordinance 2012-4. This has to do with the GC3 zoning district, and this would allow a special exception pursuant to section 5-4-5. Basically, it's allowing the option of a special exception to serve food within reasonable limits of the establishment. And I was on council when we established this district, and evidently there was one item that was covered in the GC1, GC2 that we failed to include in the GC3 ordinance. So this would bring it into line with the other districts. And this does not just allow, they would still have to go before BOZA to be allowed to do that. So
just like everybody else.
Just like everybody else, right.
Levels the playing field.
So I would entertain a motion for Ordinance 2012-4.
So moved. Second.
Okay.
I'll read that title into the record, and then just for the council's awareness, the next step for this particular ordinance, should it pass the vote, would be to go to the Planning Commission. Their next meeting is scheduled for June 20th because it is a zoning related ordinance, and they will consider it and make a recommendation. Also, because it's a zoning related ordinance, we'll have to have a public hearing on it. And so I would anticipate that might be in the July meeting. I don't know if we could do it that quickly for June. That public hearing has not been scheduled yet. That would be the mayor's purview, but in the past, sometimes that public hearing is scheduled for the same night as council. So perhaps in the July council meeting, there would be a public hearing at which you would receive the public's comments on this ordinance, the planning commission's recommendations on this ordinance, should they have any, and then it would be up for second reading. And then, as Councilmember Batelli said, should it pass second reading, folks still have to go in front of BOZA to request a variance. And so the title is first reading by title only of ordinance 2012-4, an ordinance amending Title 5 Planning and Development, Chapter 4 Zoning, Article 2 District Regulations, Section 5-4-37, Table of Permitted Uses in Commercial Districts of the City of Isle of Palms Code of Ordinances to permit outdoor sale of food and beverage in the GC3 zoning district by special exception pursuant to Section 5-4-5.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Well,
Or
discussion.
discussion?
Sorry.
Sure. Discussion?
You know, this when I found this on the agenda, I was surprised to see this. Not sure what, can you share with council what has precipitated for this to be on the agenda and why this change is needed?
This is a request.
Councilman Vitelli just went over that.
This is something that's covered in GC1, GC2.
I understand
This
that,
is
but I
making
mean,
all-
what happened to make this surface for us to have this in a special meeting right now?
Actually, this request did not come to me directly, it came to Linda, but my memory serves that this, Councilmember Buchanan asked that this ordinance be evaluated and considered. And the reason that it's on the agenda tonight is because we were having the meeting already for the time-sensitive ordinance. This particular ordinance is not necessarily time-sensitive. For example, anyone that wanted to grant the variance, you know, it seems to me the earliest they might be able to get one is September at the end of the season, even if the timeline holds. And so in terms of urgency, there is no particular urgency that this is on tonight's agenda, but since we were having the special meeting to consider ordinances anyway, you know, we thought go ahead and put this on for consideration of a piece of business.
Emily, I can add to
Please.
that too. Emily had actually.
Please come forward, sir. Sorry.
Can you hear me in this microphone?
No,
here?
you're
Oh,
trying
yeah.
to get captured in this little triangle.
Emily had actually asked me to prepare this, I think, for last council meeting, and it just kind of slipped through the cracks, and I did not get it prepared in time. So I went ahead and worked on it and had it ready for this meeting, so I just offered it up as something to put on the agenda. The mayor said go ahead and put it on the agenda. I don't think there was any other reason. I was actually a little bit behind schedule in getting this done for the May meeting, and that's probably why it ended up on this one instead of waiting until the June meeting. So it was actually my fault for being slow on that. Thanks.
Okay.
Yeah, I just, you know, it's with the original meeting was scheduled to have a time-sensitive ordinance considered by council, and then all of a sudden this was on the agenda, and not sure no details were shared with
Okay, which
members.
we did, and I received an email explaining why this was added to the agenda tonight, but
I got
that's
one, I
neither here
believe,
nor
from
there.
our administrator as well.
Yeah. But that said, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
No. I have to read I don't know why it's needed.
So
Okay,
now
motion
this
passes.
establishments in these, if it weren't to pass, the establishments in here could have outside sales without going to BOZA. It passes.
Okay.
No comment.
Entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting's adjourned.
So you came from Columbia for this?
I did.
Good for you. Wes, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
Man, good seeing you.
Good to see you too. Thank y'all for having this meeting.
Yeah,
I really
Yeah.
appreciate it.